Hello everyone. In the previous class, we were discussing about the black box testing techniques. Within this, we have discussed requirement based testing, positive and negative testing, boundary value analysis, decision tables, and equivalence partitioning. Today, we will see state based testing. First, we will see definition. What is meant by state based or graph based testing? Here, state-based or graph-based testing methods are applicable to generate test cases for state machines such as language translators, workflows, transaction flows, and data flows. See here, state or graph-based testing is very useful in situation where the product under test is a language processor. Here, language processor means it may be a compiler or interpreter wherein the syntax of the language automatically lends itself to a state machine. And workflow, here workflow modeling where depending on the current state and appropriate combinations of input variables, specific workflows are carried out, resulting in new output and new state. Here data flow modeling where the system is modeled as a set of data flow leading from one state to another. This is all about state based or graph based testing. We will take one example. See here, all of you read this slide. Consider an application that is required to validate a number according to the following simple rules. A number can start with an optional sign. The optional sign can be followed by any number of digits. The digits can be optionally followed by a decimal point represented by a period. If there is a decimal point, then there should be 2 digits after the decimal. Fifth one, any number, whether or not it has a decimal point, should be terminated by a blank. How to represent this example? State transition diagram and a state transition table. See here, what is the first condition? A number can start with an optional sign. Here optional sign means either plus or minus. This is the first one. And second one is this plus or minus means this optional sign can be followed by any number of digits. Means here we can include any number of digits. We will see this with the state transition diagram. See here, here the first one is a number can start with an optional sign. Here we are going to use either plus or minus. You can see here plus or minus. This is the first step. Then what is the second step? The optional sign can be followed by any number of digits. You can see here in the second step, it may follow. Here the first step is, it may be a plus or minus, this plus sign followed by any number of digits. This is the second point. And the third one is, the digits can be optionally followed by a decimal point represented by a period. You can see the third point here, that is decimal point. Next, if there is a decimal point, then there should be 2 digits after the decimal point. This is the digit 1 and this is the digit 2. When there is a decimal point, and it should be followed by the 2 digits that will be represented in the fourth and fifth step. And if there will not be any decimal point, it should be terminated with the blank. See here, if there is no decimal point, we are not going to include decimal point, then it should be terminated with a blank, that is represented in the sixth step. See here, this state transition diagram we are going to represent with the help of the state transition table. See here, it contains the 3 columns: current state, input, and next state. See here, if you are in the state 1, then the input is digit, you will go for the next state, that is the next state is 2. If you are in the current state 1, then if it is taking optional sign as a plus, and again you will go for the next state as 2. If you are in the current state 1, if you are providing optional sign as minus, then it will go for the next state 2. If you are in the current state 2, if it is a digit, again we are in the 2 only, because here it is following by any number of digits. And next, The third step is if you are including or if you are including the decimal point, or if you are not including the decimal point, like this. If you are not including the decimal point, directly we are moving for the sixth step. If you are including the decimal point, we are moving for the third step. You can see here third step. If the decimal point is followed by a digit, this is the fourth and fifth, we are going to moving for the fourth and fifth step. Next, if it is following the blank one, then again we are ending with the sixth step. This is about state transition table. Here, graph-based testing methods are applicable to generate test cases for state machines such as language translators, workflows, transaction flows, and data flows. We will see the next compatibility testing. What is meant by compatibility testing? Testing done to ensure that the product features work consistently with different infrastructure components is called as compatibility testing. Here what is meant by infrastructure? Here infrastructure may be a processor or the architecture or the resource availability, like this. Based on the infrastructure components, how the system is going to work, that is all about compatibility testing. See here, there are many parameters that generally affect the compatibility of the product are, the first one is processor, that is the CPU, whether it is a Pentium 3 or Pentium 4 or Core 2 Duo, like this, and the number of processors in the machine. Second one is architecture and characteristics of the machine, whether it is a 32-bit or 64-bit and so on. Third one is resource availability on the machine, whether the RAM is available or the disk space is available or network card is available. Like this, based on the resource availability, we are going to check the compatibility of the machine. The fourth point is equipment that the product is expected to work with, like printers, modems, routers. Then the operating system, whether it contains the Windows operating system, Linux operating system, DOS operating system, like this. Next, backend components. Backend components means the database servers such as Oracle, Cbase, and so on. Next is any software used to generate the product binaries, whether you are using a compiler, linker, interpreter, assembler, like this. And next, various technological components used to generate a components means here which technology we are going to use, whether you are using SDK, JDK, like this. Based on the technology, we are going to divide the components, that is different versions of the software. Here we are going to divide compatibility into two types. One is backward compatibility testing and another is forward compatibility testing. First we will see what is meant by backward compatibility testing. There are many versions of the same product that are available with the customers. It is important for the customers that the objects, object properties, schema, rules, reports, and so on that are created with an older version of the product continue to work with the current version of the same product here. See here, what is the backward compatibility testing? Older version of the product should continue to work with the current version of the same product is called as the backward compatibility testing. The testing that ensures the current version of the product continue to work with the older versions of the same product is called backward compatibility testing. The product parameters required for the backward compatibility testing are added to the compatibility matrix and are tested. Now we will see what is meant by forward compatibility testing. There are some provisions for the product to work with later versions of the product and other infrastructure components, keeping future requirements in mind. Testing the product with the beta version of the operating system, early access version of the developers kit, and so on are the examples of the forward compatibility. This type of testing ensures the risk involved in product for future requirements are minimized here.